Okay, hi everyone. Today I thought I would talk about sensory needs. This is something that is quite individual to different people, and since discovering I'm on the spectrum, I've been getting more and more aware of certain things that I need that not necessarily everyone else needs, and starting to put better language around that and things like that. So today I thought I'd just give you a brief idea of what things are like for me and some interesting stories of what that's meant in different situations. So noise, for example, I've always known that I've been quite sensitive to noise. Things like car brakes are a big problem for me. If they squeak too much, no one else seems to get bothered by it. And when I was younger, like I remember when I first started going to like music gigs and things, when I was sort of 16, 18, I used to take cotton wool everywhere. And so just in case the pub was too loud or the gig was too loud, I'd have cotton wool. I play the drums and other drummers wouldn't care, but I would always have earplugs and things like that. And now I've realized that when there's a lot of background noise, it actually takes a lot of energy out of me. So if I'm in a really noisy situation all day, then it's actually quite mentally fatiguing to be in that situation. Um, so that's noise. Touch. I used to think I was really sensitive to touch because I didn't like any kind of really light touch. I never really liked. Now I realize it's actually the exact opposite. I'm actually hyposensitive to touch, which means I need really firm pressure on a lot of things. That means that some certain types of clothing I can't wear. So I remember a time I used to have a woolen school jumper that my parents tried to get me to wear. And I remember this one time I had this huge fight with my parents saying I just did not want to wear it under any conditions. And after some negotiation, we agreed that I would try wearing it for the length of one game of pool. We had a pool table in our house at that stage, and so I agreed to that, and the game of pool went like this. My dad broke, pretty good break. All the balls went their separate ways, didn't sink anything. And then my next shot was a really long shot all the way down the table, white ball, straight into the eight ball, straight into the corner pocket. It was one of the best shots I played, and the game was over in about 15 seconds, and I was very happy with that. My dad didn't like that so much. He thought I kind of cheated. But anyway, so that was because I really don't like the sort of light touch. Another example is I can't sleep without a blanket on me. I need something touching my skin at all times. Um, Sight is really strange. I'm not sure if this is a sensory thing or a neurological thing, but I can't see the whole picture in one. And I've only just realized that this is something a little bit peculiar to me. I have really good sight for details, but I kind of look at lots of little details and then put all the picture together later. It's very hard for me to see the whole image in one glance. And an interesting side effect of this is I remember going to the cinema when I was younger, and it was an unpleasant experience because I just could not see the whole screen in one frame. Like I had to sort of look around at different things just to put it together. So that was a little bit difficult. Um, I've also realized that it affects reading and things like that. I'm not sure if I've explained that very well. I've always known that I've been extremely sensitive to smell, especially artificial smells like spray deodorant, for example. That means that I could be in my bedroom upstairs and someone could spray deodorant in the bathroom downstairs after a shower or something. And despite the floor difference and two closed doors, I will still notice. I'm like, oh, okay, someone just sprayed deodorant in the bathroom. So that can be pretty extreme sometimes. Makes it difficult to talk to people who smoke because that's quite a strong smell. Women's with perfume is also difficult. Walking through department stores that have like a perfume section, I race through or I just hold my nose or something like that. And in hindsight, I wonder if this is one of the reasons that I never took up a team sport, because like locker rooms are particularly bad with deodorant and BO and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I wonder if that's why I only ever did sort of individual sports when I was growing up. Okay, so taste is kind of interesting. I knew I was always quite sensitive to this, but interestingly, there were two foods that I often had problems eating when I was a kid. I just really didn't like eating them by themselves, and that's rice and potatoes. And very often kids are the opposite because they're happy to eat those because they don't really have all that much flavor. So at first glance, that sort of sounds like a hyposensitivity. I needed more flavors to add to it so that it was palatable to eat. But when I think about it now, it was actually, I was so sensitive to the taste that if you cooked rice in a plastic microwave dish, then it tasted like plastic to me. If you cooked it in a metal saucepan, it tasted like metal to me. And so I needed something else to mask that flavor. Also meant that I couldn't eat things like, cheese or cream or anything else that had really, really strong flavors when I was younger. Another sense that I only learned about recently is the sort of balance and vestibular system. And in hindsight, I remember watching other kids do things like roll down a grassy hill and things like that. And I thought like that was the craziest thing on earth. Why would anyone want to do that? And after learning about this sense, it makes perfect sense to me why they were doing that, because they were giving themselves the sensory input of what it feels like to roll down a hill. But that was never appealing to me, because if I ever did something like that, I would just feel sick. So sort of same with carnival rides and spinning. Any kind of spinning is just too much. I'll feel sick for the rest of the day. I remember I went on one of these like pirate ship things that just goes up and down, nothing too fancy, and I was like physically sick for the rest of the day, just as that was still affecting me. Proprioception is another sense that I only learnt about recently. So I guess the main thing with this one is that it means I'm always moving a little bit. So I'm very rarely completely sit still. I'm either sort of pacing around or shifting my weight, or clenching my muscles a little bit or something like that. I like really big movements, and I don't like to ever completely stop moving. So it's a little bit hard to explain, but I guess the practical side is that I'm always moving a little bit. I guess actually a good example of this is like a rocking chair. People just like the motion of rocking, and you can feel it rocking, and it's just, there's something in that that's pleasurable, I suppose. So that is actually self-stimulating this particular sense. Anyway, this one's a little bit difficult to explain. Hopefully you've got some kind of sense of that. If I think of a better way to explain it, I might talk about it later. So anyway, that's a little bit about me and my personal sensory needs. Everyone is very different in this sense, and I personally have found it extremely interesting to realize how different people need different things in this particular arena, and it actually explains a lot of behavior. So I personally find that very interesting. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you another time.